Having just renovated a 100-year-old property in the city of Toronto, there are a few things that we wish we would have done when it comes to those renovations. In this video, we'll break down some of those hidden ideas for renovations, and stay tuned to the end because one of those ideas is something that I never in 1 million years would have thought about adding to the property, but it's something that I really wish we did. I'm Michael Ouzas. I'm a realtor here in the city of Toronto. Click that like and subscribe button. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. And if you want to book in a call to discuss what's happening on the ground level in Toronto real estate, we are still taking bookings for our New Year's strategy session to help our buyers and sellers prepare for 2025. You can click on that first link in the description down below. Going through renovations is never an easy thing, and when you're going through them, you typically are either going to hire a contractor or take on this work yourself to hire all the trades. Either way, you're going to want to be steps ahead of the trades as they come into your property to do the work. If you saw my other video that discussed hiring a designer, those designers would have typically thought about everything we are going to discuss on this list. But if you did want to just learn what those items are, I have 5 of them here today that I think are super important going through this process, and things that I would definitely redo again, and some things I would of course add. First one on the list is being ahead of the electrician. And if you are getting drawings done by a professional designer, they will typically do an electrical map and drawings, where you want your plugs, where you want your light switches, what height you want everything. If you have TVs mounted on the wall, maybe you want the plug above where the TV is going to go, so that way you don't see any cables hanging out. If you are running things like Cat6 wiring to keep the hardwired, so that way you get great internet in all the offices throughout the house, even though yes, things are on Wi-Fi. Having those hardwired connections definitely help getting signal all around the house. The other things that we added in that I'm super happy we did at the time when the property was down to the studs was adding in the electric charger at the front. And we don't even have an electric car, but I know that in the future, if we ever wanted to add one, running that line from the panel to the front of the house would have cost thousands and thousands of dollars, because then we're also opening up drywall and reconfiguring things, whereas now it's already roughed in and it's there. So if we ever wanted to add that electric charger, it's as simple as just opening up a piece of wood on the deck and connecting the charger at that point. Same thing goes for things like running cables to the shed or future garage. Anything that you might consider adding power to in the future, running those outlets on the exterior of the house. So for example, if there's a spot that you think you might be plugging in things like a lawnmower, any lights for Christmas, thinking about all those things beforehand will really help things go along when you meet with the electrician. And the other piece of that is where you want your switches to turn on all the lights in the house. So all these things have to be considered. And if you draw those out on a piece of paper, it'll definitely help when you walk through with the electrician and planning ahead. The last piece I'll add for electrical with the electrician is thinking about where you want your plugs around the house. So if you sit by the couch and you want to plug in your phone, having a plug readily available or having a plug by the stairs could help you if you need to get a vacuum down there. We made that mistake. We did not put a plug by one of the stairwells, and now we're kind of like, we wish we had a plug there because we just can't quite reach from the other plugs to get to a certain spot. I know cordless vacuums help, but anyway, it would have been something we would have appreciated doing while the electrician was there and the walls were open. Next up on the list is if you are purchasing a property in the city of Toronto, there's typically a bulkhead and a low ceiling in the basement. It's pretty common in the city to have not super tall basements. So if you're not going to be underpinning or digging out the basement, one of the ideas that we did was we actually moved the bulkhead to the sidewall. So instead of having a big bulkhead going across the entire basement, which would have taken our height from about 6'5" to down to about 6 feet or just below 6 feet across, we actually moved that bulkhead to the wall, and we lost about half a foot of space on the wall. But now we are able to have that 6'5" all the way across the basement. And I know it doesn't sound like a super tall basement, but in Toronto, having a finished 6'5" basement is actually pretty solid. And I'm not super tall, so I can walk down there no problem. But moving that bulkhead to the sidewall was definitely one of the best changes we made for the house, and it's made the entire basement extremely usable. The other element to that is knowing where your ductwork runs so that you can plan where you're going to be hanging things throughout the home, and having those ideas beforehand so that way you're not drilling into ductwork, definitely super important consideration. Third one on the list is storage. I've never had a client come up to me and say that there's too much storage in a property. Most people love storage, and using different areas in the home to add storage, even adding shelving, will be extremely helpful when you move in. When you think of storage, think about using the areas under the stairs, using areas in the mechanical room. If you have any kind of linen closets, what kind of shelving or drawers you can add in. If you're working on the kitchen, what kind of storage you can add to the kitchen, mudrooms, things like that. Any kind of storage that you can add that will create good space functionally and still give you good areas to walk through and they're not taking up the entire property will be something that you'll be very appreciative as you're going through the renovation and moving in finally into that home. Fourth on the list, and this is something that we totally missed the ball on, was ordering the window coverings way before the property was finished. We waited way too long to order our window coverings and everything was done. We were in the house and realized that there are no window coverings on the home. So we had to go to Home Depot to buy some of those temporary window coverings. Not a great solution. They fall all the time. We should have ordered window coverings the second that the trim and casing was done around the windows. Had someone in there, had a few quotes done while the other trades were still working on the other elements of the house. Would have sped things up tremendously. The thing we didn't consider was that once they come and take the measurements and then we decide on what kind of window coverings we wanted, it's still a 2 to 4 week process before the installation. So if you are looking to get window coverings done, starting that process the second the trim and casing is completed around the windows, not only when the windows are installed, but wait for the trim to be installed because that's important for the measuring. But getting those ordered right away when that's done would have saved us weeks to get those window coverings. And we are at the point of this video still waiting. So it's something that definitely we missed the boat on that one. Number 5 on the list, and this is probably the biggest oversight, is thinking about where you want to put those toilet paper holders. It's kind of funny to think about, but when the bathroom is down to the studs and you're just reconfiguring everything and all you have in there is the bathtub, which interestingly enough is usually the first thing that goes into any home, thinking about where you want the toilet paper holder so you can add a blocking which runs horizontally between 2 vertical studs. That way, when the walls are finished and you need to install the toilet paper holder, you're drilling right into the studs versus having to add plugs and screws into drywall. Adding plugs and screws into drywall will undoubtedly make your toilet paper holder crooked within weeks once it starts getting used. So that is one of the biggest oversights and kind of frustrating to think that we totally missed that. But having a nice blocking there so you can have a secured toilet paper holder. I know it sounds funny, but that would be the one that was a total oversight and something that I really wish we did so that we didn't have a crooked toilet paper holder in our powder room. But anyway, that's something we will fix. So those are my top 5. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the comments down below on what else you would add to that list. I'm Michael Ouzas. Thanks for watching.